Oh, this is interesting. This is quite the outfit.
Well, good afternoon, Kerrie. Hold on, I have to put my dueling gun here.
Nice. I like your pistol.
Well, welcome everybody back to another episode of Unseen Impact with Rory and Kerrie. I am your co-host, Rory Pendergast, the main attorney at Rory Law. And today we are here to talk about not only the Constitution, which, as listeners know, I like to talk about.
Right.
About the Thomas Jefferson, about the Founding Fathers, about what that means for us now. But today the specialty is, ding, 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 ding,
Drum roll, please.
the Bill of Rights.
Ooh.
Now, I'm not one just to simply talk about something.
Clearly.
I want to live it. So for those of you who can't see my beauty, my Amazon order was a little bit late. So in place of my Amazon Revolutionary Era dress up, I have
Well, I think it's revolutionary enough.
It looks revolutionary, but I mean, if you really look, it's actually a pirate suit.
Nah, no. You
But
pull
it fits.
off.
Well,
Don't
I have
tell 'em.
these. I'm not sure if you could tell. My hair has these rolls in it, which
Yep.
makes it there.
Right. So now one of those he's wearing one of those gray wigs with those funny rolls on the side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the baristas wear.
We prefer to not call them funny, but I see what
Oh.
you're saying. This is serious.
And in this barista, I meant the attorneys of like England.
Of past, I have my revolutionary hat,
Yes,
Madame.
Yes. But you have to tell us about the dueling gun.
So I have a dueling gun here, which is actually my grandfather was a smoker, and imagine this, he died at like age 55 in the early
Was it lung
80s.
cancer?
It was lung cancer. This is a antique lighter. But it looks like a dueling gun.
It does look like a dueling gun. So that's a lighter.
That's a lighter. Some of the founding fathers went out in a duel, so I figured we'd kind of share the love
I wonder
today.
if it would still work.
Probably.
I don't know what it would need.
We'll try, but
Anyway.
right now it works for a good prop, a good dueling prop.
Yeah.
So I've got my beautiful hair. I've got my sort of
Gray
revolutionary.
Yep.
My revolutionary get up, and I think it helps us get right into talking about the Bill of Rights.
Great.
So what I want to look at is you're going to. Oh yeah, thank you. I'll take
Yeah.
take my
There's
little
coffee.
notes here.
Uh-huh.
From what I understand, you as well have looked into this a little bit.
Oh, right. So I have a little information on the Bill of Rights because the truth is I don't really know exactly what it is. So it turns out that it was introduced by James Madison. Who is James Madison, Rory?
A very important person in our founding of this country, along with all of them. The biggest thing, these were introduced, and some of the reason we're bringing this up right now is that it was introduced in August of 1789.
Right.
So 200 and some odd years ago.
Right. Well,
These are introduced.
and
But
it
tell us
says-
a little bit more.
Well, it says that Americans had just fought a revolution. The Constitution gave the government power, but many feared too much power without guaranteed rights. So the Bill of Rights was the safeguard. So the quick highlights of the key rights were free speech, freedom of assembly, right to a jury trial, protection from unreasonable searches, and due process.
So we've got some of the little kind of key phrases there, but what I want to stop out right now is you're wondering, why am I dressed like I look like a fool? Which is fine.
That's kind of cute.
Thank you. I'm just getting into it. But then why is it that a personal injury attorney is talking about the Bill of Rights? But these sort of items right here, when you look about that, right? So back in 1789, they are concerned about ordinary citizens, and their concerns are free speech, freedom of assembly, right to a jury trial, protection from unreasonable searches, and due process. You can go to any news source today, any periodical, any newspaper, and you're going to find these issues in it.
What's funny to me is the unreasonable searches. So what are they doing back then? And what are they looking for?
So this brings
Because
me to
people had guns, right?
Yeah,
And-
oh, yeah.
So what are they looking for? It's not marijuana. It's not like, I don't know. Right?
Well, I think that they did make some clothes out of hemp, right? But used for a different purpose.
Right. Okay.
Some of what it has to do with is this. And, I recently started watching some of the HBO special on John Adams. I mean, these are old, right? This is pre-Game
Paul
of
Giamatti,
Thrones.
is that?
Yes.
Solid. Okay.
So what's wild is like a red-blooded American, You start watching it, and he's like, oh, the Patriots. This is Massachusetts.
Those are my people.
Those are your people. They're the Patriots. This is New England.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, they're just talking about how wanting to continue this relationship with England. And for me, I wanted to puke. Blah, right?
Why?
Because we're patriots. We're Americans. We're revolutionaries.
Right.
We're not English.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of but that brings to exactly the point. So in that time, as what struck or what sparked the Revolutionary War was that you had, we were colonies, the 13 colonies, and Britain could do whatever it wanted. So if they didn't like what you were saying,
Yeah.
they could silence you.
Hmm.
They didn't like assembly, right? And by assembly, that's not just religion. That's just having any sort of assembly, like the tenets of our country, what we hold most dear.
Mm-hmm.
It was the British who were stopping them because the colonists, the colonies, were beginning to realize in one form or another they were going to have to split, or they were starting to split because of the way in which Britain was treating them.
Mm-hmm.
So then the other sort of items, right to jury by trial.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, imagine if somebody could just accuse you of something and you have no recourse.
Right.
For us, this is kind of an important topic because I'm a lawyer.
Right.
This every day I deal with the right for a jury by trial.
Right.
Not in the criminal context, but in the civil context.
Right.
And what we say is that it is the power that is in the people.
Well, I think we talked about this last time around the 4th of July when you were wearing a different outfit. But how crazy it is that these are like, okay, from like 17, whatever. But it's totally applicable.
It's totally
right? Like people are like, well,
applicable.
that's my free speech. Well, they came up with this like millions of years ago, or 200 years ago. But you know
So
what I mean?
imagine that. And there's one key
It's
point
crazy.
that ties in with that perfectly. So this is, the key phrase. These weren't abstract ideals. They're talking about the Bill of Rights. They're talking about freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, right to privacy, right to due process, right
Right.
to a criminal trial by jury and a speedy trial, right to a jury trial for civil cases, all of these bills of rights. These weren't abstract ideas then. They were protections written for ordinary people who lived under a government they couldn't trust. And it was the
It's so
British
interesting.
it was the British government that they couldn't trust. And so I'm telling you, man, it was fascinating for a few reasons, right? And when
Yeah.
you really look at it from like I'm not a film guy, right? But if you kind of put your thinking hat on, if you will, the John Adams, it was a book. It was a very large book, and they turned it into a
Right.
nice series.
Yep.
And they nailed it. And all of it, this was before Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
right? So what I like to say is that before Game of Thrones, before Yellowstone, before all of these streaming things that are like mini movies that are on
Right.
there, right? Before Jon Snow, there was John Adams, right?
Hey.
And it's beautiful watching it, but you see what they had to go through. That we take this for advantage right now, right? Hey, you're scrolling on your phone. You see a billboard, you see a personal injury attorney, you see whatever, and you think, what does that have to do with anything about me or this country or anything? And what it comes down to is that it has to do with everything. It has to do with protections written for ordinary people who lived under a government that they couldn't trust. And this is a topic that we have touched on often in our podcast, just
Yeah.
talking about your David versus Goliath.
Right.
And so if you have this, if you are the David, and
Yep.
and you're just getting out of this one, hey, you're David. You've been seeing Goliath. Maybe that's not the best.
Oh,
You've been seeing
no,
Goliath.
no.
You've got one
Strike that.
Goliath. You want to exchange one Goliath for another Goliath. And so it was James Madison basically introducing these, saying that these are the protections that we as a country, we as the people get to afford ourselves. So that we're able to have free speech, we're able to have free assembly, we're able to gather without getting shot or pushed away. We're able
And what's crazy, so attorneys today are referencing these things
every day.
every day.
Every
You're like,
day.
oh, okay, you come to me.
Y-
I'm
yeah.
like, okay, what's your case? Well, let's see. I guess, let me get out my Bill of Rights
Well,
and
and
see. Yep, nope, definitely broken rights here.
this is the thing, is that we're not necessarily, I mean, I do actually have a copy of the Constitution. I
I
have a
know.
copy of a mini copy of the Bill of Rights.
Oh, this might be a good time to tell a little backstory of
Well, that's about 100 years later, a little bit less than 100 years later.
when I first met Rory. I wanted to go through his wallet, not because, well, yeah. So I went through his wallet and I was like, what is this? And do you know that he had a copy of Lincoln's speech?
It was a homemade laminated copy of the speech.
A homemade.
7 years ago.
Yeah. So I just, by a show of hands, is there anybody out there that has a copy of this
Me.
in their wallet when they were how old? How old were you?
I mean, like
Yeah,
22,
what a nerd.
22.
What a
But
nerd.
these are powerful words.
I know, but that's really funny. I forgot about that
It is
too.
kind of funny.
Yeah.
It is kind of fun. But you see why I like to bring up these topics.
I know.
You see why I like to bring up these topics? Because it's relevant. And it is just
somehow you keep it relevant.
well. No, well, here's the thing. It's I'm not. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I think that I'm able to keep it relevant because it is relevant. Now, it may go by a different word, but like due process. Due process is you have notice and the opportunity to be heard.
Right.
And that is like the some of the foundational aspects of these things. For us, for the plaintiff's attorneys, we are in civil trials and as a constitutional protection from a government that you possibly sometimes may not be able to trust. The constitutional protection are that you have a jury made up of your peers who are the ones who are making this decision. And so for me, what I wanted to do is on this sort of anniversary of when it was introduced, because it wasn't completely ratified until 1791. Now, I'm not sure what takes 2 years, or maybe maybe it was, maybe it wasn't quite 2 years. I'm not sure what takes all of this time, but you think about it, you have 13 colonies. They stretch, if you had to think about it now, we can get from one side of the country to the complete opposite side of the country in a matter of 6 hours right now. Whereas these folks, at 6 hours, you might go 6 miles. So just by the nature of technology,
Unless they had a better horse, maybe.
unless they had a better horse than old Bessie,
They got a good
they
stallion.
get a stallion. But so it takes a little bit of a while. But what I wanted to do was kind of bring it back. And as I talk about, words are meaningless unless you can show it, right? And so what they decided to do back then, we fought the revolution. We beat the Brits. We get a constitution in 1787, but people just naturally are worried because, think about it. These are revolutionaries, right? It was actually kind of funny. I saw I saw a shirt the other day of this guy. I frankly, in this era, I have no idea his political background, but it had George Washington wearing sunglasses.
Okay.
With on the sunglasses, it was the U.S. flag.
Okay.
And it said, "It's only treason if you lose."
Oh, I think I saw that.
We saw that, right?
Yeah, I don't remember where we were.
But
yeah,
and that's kind of propelled me to think about this, is that so these guys, if they would have lost, they would have been, shot, quartered, hung. They would have been terminated for treason. But they didn't. And so they were fighting what they didn't like. They were fighting against an evil in the world. And so their concern was, okay, now so we built this new thing. How do we ensure that it is for the people and by the people? And so for me, I just want to kind of swing it back in a silly little way, but to make a point of in 1789, this mattered for the country. And today, this matters for the country.
Totally.
And today, I think it matters in everybody's everyday life.
Right.
I would challenge people to just think about it. In your day, do you ever hear the words free speech, or freedoms,
Right.
or right to a jury trial? I mean, and frankly, these days, protection from searches.
Oh,
all that you're hearing that all the time.
right.
Due process. Now, due process, you may not hear the words due process as much, but I'm telling you, notice an opportunity to be heard. What do we hear from down to when anybody who has children or works with kids, what do you hear? Well, that was unfair, right? When
Right.
somebody says it's unfair, it means that they weren't given an opportunity to have their voice heard.
Right.
What the Bill of Rights did was gave ordinary people the opportunity to have their voice heard.
Right. And everyone's still like, we don't think about it every day, but we certainly do if something happens to us. So the Bill of Rights is like applicable to all of us all the time.
Well, and
every day.
I think this is, I had an attorney for he originally was an attorney for my grandfather, then my
Oh.
parents. This was up in Montana.
Oh, that's funny.
And when I got my license, I mean, now this guy's, in his 90s. I think he's still practicing law. But he told me, he says, you're going to hear a lot of attorney jokes. And you just kind of shrug it off and you go with it. And he says, they don't want you until they want you. And when they want you, they need you bad. And that's when we're here. And so I want to leave it with that, that, us attorneys, Rory Law, we're fighting today for the same rights that they were fighting for
Right.
at the beginning of the country. And for me, that's kind of cool.
Right. It is totally cool. Yeah. I agree.
And for me, I think that's kind of one of the unseen aspects of the law that people
Right.
may not be thinking about.
Right.
So for those who have listened to us in the past, for those who will listen to us in the future, I want you to keep that in mind. I want you to remember we are all over social media. Rate, review, subscribe, follow.
Yes.
You can listen to this podcast on any of the major platforms. Fairly soon, from what I understand, Spotify, you're going to be able to watch it. You can watch the podcast on YouTube. Thank you for your time. Kerrie, thank you.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you next time.
See you next time.